It is 9:59. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. The Tennessee Baseball Vols are national champions for the first time in program history, beating Texas A&M 6-5 in Game 3 of the National Championship Series on Monday. Xander Sechrist was the winning pitcher, tossing 5.1 innings with 7 strikeouts, a walk, and 1 run allowed. Aaron Combs got the save, picking up the final 2 outs in the 9th. Dylan Dreiling came up big at the plate with another 2-run shot in the 7th, giving Tennessee the insurance it needed. Dreiling named Series MVP. He was 7 of 12 with 4 runs scored and 7 RBIs over the course of the 3 games. The sophomore is the first player to homer in each game of the championship series. In the NHL, the Florida Panthers are Stanley Cup champs for the first time in franchise history, winning 2-1 at home in Game 7 on Monday. The Panthers blew a 3-0 series lead to the Edmonton Oilers, but ultimately hoist the cup. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Is this how we're starting it today? This is what the vibes are going to be for the entirety of the show. Good morning.
What am I looking at right now?
What's wrong?
I don't know. You look like you came from a tanning. Did you get Botox this morning? Is that what it is?
No, I got lasered yesterday. Why did that happen?
You look like your face had a chemical peel done.
Well, yeah, I did.
You look like you're wearing like a mask of yourself. What is going on?
Is it because I'm clean shaven?
I don't know.
What's
maybe.
wrong?
Looking like Joan Rivers walking in here.
Are we on the air? Good morning.
Yeah, barely. Welcome in. Thanks for coming.
How's everybody?
Oh, it's a beautiful morning. The sun is shining a little brighter. The coffee tastes a little bit better. Those cupcakes in the break room, a little more delectable than usual. Oh, it's a beautiful morning.
Cupcakes before 10 a.m., huh?
Yes.
That kind of a day.
That kind of a day.
Well, sure, absolutely. Congratulations to the Tennessee Vols, to their fan base, to Jackson and Lucas. I'm not sure which of you is the most hungover today. Both of you are positively glowing. You look to be post-coital at this point, so I hope it was all worth it. All the stress, because your baseball team, they don't make it easy. Your sports teams, they just don't want to let you have it cleanly, right? Decisively.
It's not supposed to be easy. It's a national championship.
I'm not saying that it's supposed to be easy, but would you like it a little less stressful? Because that damn game was plenty stressful, even though Tennessee did what it needed to do en route to winning the College World Series, the first College World Series in program history last night. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to join the conversation. We would be happy to have you at any point. I'm curious to know. I almost want to just turn it over to the two of you. Rarely do I want to turn it over to the two of you, but this is not my moment. This is not my day. This is your day. This is the audience's day. This is a great day for the University of Tennessee and its huge fan base, and it looked like they burned Omaha to the ground in the aftermath last night. That looked wild. You had Morgan Wallen, you had Peyton Manning sitting. Did you think it was funny that the ESPN broadcast didn't seem to notice Josh Heupel, the head coach of the football team, in the middle of Rick Barnes, Peyton Manning, and Morgan Wallen? I got a kick out of that. Somebody had to get in the broadcaster's ear, but like, hey, that's the football coach. Don't make sure you mention him too. Anyway, so all the vibes high in Omaha, and they do it in dramatic yet spectacular fashion. And now you two have witnessed a championship that you actually remember, that you're actually cognizant for 1998, you don't have any memories of, like actual memories of, other than what you watched on YouTube, Lucas.
That is correct. I was not even 3. I was 2. I was 2 years old. No, I was 3 years old.
And we've talked about this. Jackson was 8 years old when the Lady Vols won their last championship under Pat Summitt. I know they've had a track and field championship, a team track and field championship at the University of Tennessee since then. That was the most recent until last night, but still. I cede the floor for once to you two. How do you feel today?
Jackson?
Spectacular. Just peachy.
How much sleep did you get?
Not much.
It was hard to fall asleep.
Probably like 3 hours. Probably 3-4 hours.
Yeah, tough to fall asleep last night, but you wake up feeling like you slept for 10 hours. You wake up feeling energized after something like that. Yeah, it feels every good as you hope it will. And you're right. They made it stressful there at the end. And Christian Moore sets the tone, right, with the leadoff home run in the first inning, bottom of the first. A&M scores to tie it up in the third. And then Xander Sechrist just went to work. And Xander Sechrist will go down as a Tennessee baseball, a Tennessee sports legend for this run that he's been on with his last 6 starts being to help Tennessee win the SEC regular season title, to get Tennessee to the SEC tournament final and win it, to win the regional, to win the super regional, to get to the Men's College World Series finals, and to win the national championship as the winning pitcher in Game 3 of the College World Series finals against Texas A&M. And they needed every bit of that Dylan Dreiling provided insurance there in the 7th to end up winning 6-5, and the Vols are national champs.
Dylan Dreiling, of course, the College World Series MVP, not just for the 2-run homer that he hit in the 7th last night, but for the 2-run homers that he hit in the 7th inning of each game. Just a completely ridiculous run for Dylan Dreiling individually as a part of the team effort. And you got the best parts of it. Now, I was texting you guys last night. I didn't want to bother you too much. Were you out in public?
I was in public.
You went to a bar.
I was watching with many, many friends. Yes.
So I'm sure the scene was something where you guys were at in East Nashville. But I'm sitting there watching them put Kirby Connell out there, and he does his job. He pitches them out of trouble, where Texas A&M had cut the Tennessee lead to 6-3 in the 8th, and then they bring in Connell, and of course he's the Johnson City, right? Johnson City, Tennessee.
Johnson City born, yes.
And played his high school baseball in South Carolina, but still, you have the moments, and I thought we might have like a really big hero moment for Kirby Connell, lifetime Vols fan, right? East Tennessee native, the whole thing, and they make the pitching change. Now, it's tough to criticize anything that they did at any given point, and I'm not saying that I'm going to be critical today, but I'm just curious to know what you were thinking when they took Kirby Connell out, because I was curious to see whether or not they would leave him in, because it's no sure thing that he was going to be able to ride it out more than he did.
Yeah, a pair of strikeouts to get a couple of outs kind of shut down that rally that was much needed, because Dylan Lloyd comes in, the freshman lefty, and he's shaken up. I don't know if he was particularly ready for that moment in the 8th inning, but that's what Kirby Connell does. He gets you 3 outs, right? He's not the guy to come in and get you 6, 7, 8 outs as a closer. So I think that was always going to be the plan. I'm with you that I thought he could have stayed in longer. He threw, 16 pitches en route to those 2 strikeouts, but Aaron Combs comes in. And it cracks me up to watch Aaron Combs pitch in those moments, because he's just got a little bit of psychopath to him. Like he's throwing wild pitches, he's throwing strikes, he's kind of laughing, he's a little goofy in between, and you're like, all right, buddy, rein it in. But he seems like he's in control, even when he's throwing it, past Cal Stark, and it's bouncing into the wall behind him, and A&M runners are advancing, but he's laughing it off because he knows as long as he gets these next 2 outs, his team are going to be national champs.
Truly a psychopath. To laugh it off in that moment. Just yellow teeth and grinning at you the entire.
It's got to be a weird thing as a batter in that moment where you just advanced a runner to third, tying run is on, or no, that run ended up scoring, right, because of a wild pitch.
Yes.
So the tying run ended up being at the plate when it was 6-5 with nobody on, and he's just laughing it off.
Truly stressful,
yes.
Like any other human being, and you could feel it.
Brandon
in the A&M dugout, rather.
Cousin Danny on the F&M Bank chat says, when he smiled at the camera after the balk, I almost died. Brandon says it was the right move. Combs is less likely to give up a homer in that scenario. So, yes, nervy at the end. But again, it's a national title. It's not supposed to be easy. And I just think back to when I was in school and Dave Serrano, the head coach, who was in Omaha, by the way, his son is the first base coach for Tennessee. And so I think he spoke at, what's the bar called? That does Rocco's, the Jello Shot Challenge. So cool that, Vol fans kind of embrace Dave Serrano. But I was in school throughout the Dave Serrano era. Tony was hired a couple months before I graduated. And that program was dead. I mean, it was dead. I saw a video floating around today of Condridge Holloway throwing the first pitch before Tony Vitello's first ever game coaching the Vols in 2018. And there's nobody in that stadium. There's maybe 12, 20 people. Seriously. And I worked for VFL Films at the time, so I worked a lot of baseball games, whether it was in the control room or, the camera operator or whatever. And those games were excruciating because there's nothing worse than bad baseball, and it was bad baseball. And games were 4 hours long, and they were terrible. So how Tony came in and resurrected this program so quickly, taking it to the postseason right out of the gates, taking it to Omaha much earlier than anybody thought possible, and then finally breaking through to win a national title. It has just been a crazy ride to watch, and looking forward to seeing what comes next for him. But Tennessee fans should be celebrating everywhere today.
So you get as close to not a perfect season by, a literal sense, but you get as close to a perfect experience as humanly possible with the way that Lucas just outlined that this particular team rolled its way through the SEC regular season, the SEC tournament, the national champs, and the first number one seed to win a title since 1999, the Miami Hurricanes, to do so. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. We'll get to your phone calls here in just a second. Also can interact in the F&M Bank chat, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Brandon Rushing says 60 wins is a lot. It's a ton. It's a ton. And to the credit of the way that they managed their emotions throughout, because you talk about the pitcher laughing last night on the mound after he bounces one behind the catcher and stuff like that with the tying run at bat, or the ability for them to tie it up with that at bat. I was just trying to get as good a sense as humanly possible of what their energy was like. And they seemed, even though there were errors and even though there were miscues and things like that, they seemed pretty well in control the entire in the entirety of the moment. Didn't seem too big is what I'm trying to say. And that's the thing that we talked about with the 2022 team, right? The growth and the maturity. When you go through a run like that, when you have that national spotlight, when you are individually recognizable as players, as many of these guys are, not just this season, but prior to, for the guys that were on that 2022 team. And then you don't make the College World Series in the following season. You come back this year with, I don't want to say a bit of a vengeance, because it wasn't like they were predicted to at the start of the season. Preseason rankings are what they are, but they're a top 10 team preseason. They have some level of expectation, and certainly the state of Tennessee has high expectations for that baseball program because they've been consistently above average to great. But this is achieving the ultimate. Anything less than a national championship last night would, of course, been a disappointment for a program that has been building to this and was able to cap it off in, like I said, dramatic fashion, but a fun game to the College World Series Game 3 finish last night. So we'll get your phone calls coming up next. We'll go through the game itself, and I'll ask Lucas and Jackson whether or not, in fact, this team was BVS, Battered Vol Syndrome proof. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
pitch. Swing and a miss. That's the ball game. How about that? The Aggies scored 2 in the ninth, but the Volunteers, Tennessee, the climb is complete.
That is the Vol Network call. Vols over Texas A&M last night, 6-5 in Game 3 of the College World Series Final in Omaha, Nebraska. Xander Sechrist, 5 and just about 5 innings of one-run baseball to earn the victory. Dylan Dreiling, Christian Moore, they were excellent hitting the home runs. We're going to go through the game itself because it was dramatic and it felt, I don't know, it felt like Tennessee felt like, if you glanced at the scoreboard, if you're watching hockey last night, or if you're watching something else, for example, if you're just kind of scoreboard watching at the College World Series, and you see Tennessee 3, Texas A&M top of the 6th, after the Aggies strand 2, you're probably thinking, all right, it's a close game, but Tennessee is clearly in control, and then they break it open a little more throughout the course of the thing. It goes to 6-3, and after Tennessee starts to get its lead cut into a little bit, you're sweating it out a little more, and it's not exactly secure. Or I guess I should ask you two, how secure did you feel at any given point? How high was the BVS throughout the course of this? Like, take me through inning by inning where the peaks and valleys were of your Battered Vol Syndrome.
Felt good as long as Xander Sechrist was on the mound. And that run of 4 straight strikeouts, like the fact that A&M had to pull their starter, Jackson, in the 3rd, 4th inning that Lampkin had to go?
Yeah, I want to say it was like 1 out in the 3rd.
Yeah, that was huge because Evan Aschenbeck comes in, and he had given Tennessee problems in Game 1. He had thrown something like 18 scoreless innings straight in relief over the course of the last few games for A&M. So you knew the earlier he was coming in, the better for Tennessee. They accomplished that. The later Xander Sechrist stayed in, the better for Tennessee. And they got that done as well. And he got hot with that run of 4 straight strikeouts that came from the 5th to 6th inning. And then he finally gets pulled. So no BVS, especially when Dylan Dreiling hit that shot. 6-1. He is, by the way, the MVP of the Men's College World Series. 7 of 12 over 3 games, 4 runs, 7 RBIs. How about this? A 2-run homer in the 7th in each of the 3 games. He's the first player in College World Series history to hit a home run in all 3 of the games in the finals, and he deservedly wins MVP. That 2-run shot made it 5-1, and you're feeling good. And then the Kavares Tears RBI double that drives in Hunter Ensley with the Euro step.
I mean, one of the most athletic moves I've ever seen a baseball player make. And he's doing it on a bad hammy, which makes it even more insane. Like, after Dreiling hits, you feel, I don't know, almost, I mean, there's always a level of reckless abandon, right? You're going to put your body on the line to win a championship in a lot of these, in almost every situation, if you have that kind of competitiveness to you. And you could tell as soon as Dylan Dreiling busted it open that way, I'm still trying to figure out the physics of how that glove just barely misses him as he crosses home plate, because it's just like a little hip twitch, very, very late, as he flies to the side, Neo from the Matrix style, and dives across. It was unbelievable.
It was insane. And so you're really tense, I think, until those moments, the Dreiling homer and the Ensley RBI driven in by Tears. Big moment there for Kavares Tears as well, who needed to step up with his bat in Game 3. But super tense because at 3-1, you're always going to be a swing away, right? You're a swing away either from a 1-run game, a tie game, or them winning if they've got a couple on. So to have that 6-1 gap, it definitely felt like a weight lifted, and you could breathe again, at least for the next few outs. But to be honest, I'm not a baseball guy. I would never be qualified to coach the littlest of Little League baseball. But I imagine that's not an advisable base running decision by Hunter Ensley, because he should have been tagged out at the plate.
Yeah.
And he just made the filthiest move that I've seen at the college level with a base runner at home plate. And Tennessee had a couple mistakes yesterday, to be honest. Dean Curley with a base running error that Tennessee, to his credit, he drove in a run. That was the RBI single that made it 3-1 for Tennessee in the third after the Dylan Dreiling sac fly. But Curley kind of just tries to go for more. He takes second and he gets tagged out. Tennessee maybe could have gotten more out of that inning. So you had some moments there with the base running there. Cal Stark throwing it to first on that bunt single in the third that allows the runner to advance to second, a play that he probably wasn't going to make anyway. So Tennessee was not without its mistakes in this game. And that theoretically is not an advisable base running decision by Hunter Ensley. But it's funny how these things turn out because that becomes now one of the most legendary plays in Tennessee athletics history.
615-737-1045. If you want to react to the Vols winning the College World Series, we'd be happy to have you. Let's start with Dustin up first.
Well, Lucas, I just wanted to call and say, as a former Vol and a Vol alumni, I'm definitely happy with you today.
Thank you, Dustin. I'm happy with you.
I did have a question. I think with the history of Tennessee baseball, especially since they haven't begun here till we got Vitello, with the top incoming class with the NIL and the new stadium renovations, do you expect probably another title in probably the next 5 years with him?
Peyton Manning does. Peyton Manning was at the College World Series. Thank you for the call, Dustin. We appreciate it. 615-737-1045 is how you can join the discussion. Sure, the expectation should be to compete for national championships on a regular basis now. We're going to have a conversation at some point this week about where things stand between Tennessee and Vanderbilt, for example, and how this first national championship for Tennessee baseball, for Tony Vitello, how much it changes the stakes for every season after because of who you become with this. So we'll dive into that later in the week. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the expectation is for them to win more titles. Now, within the next 5 years, I mean, it took since 1999 for a number one overall seed to win a national title. So I'm not going to put a time frame on it necessarily, but I would expect Tony Vitello to win more than one national championship at the University of Tennessee while he is there.
So did this team exercise Battered Vol Syndrome? Was this the antidote? Was this the vaccine?
Well,
maybe that's a touchy subject.
I don't know. You told me.
But did Tennessee baseball...
Please don't bring that back onto the phone lines. We spent the first 6 months of the show fighting vaccine talk. You remember that?
Oh, my God. Is this Tennessee baseball team the cure for Battered Vol Syndrome?
Okay, well, can it be the cure for BVS if you told me that winning a national title in baseball wasn't as important as beating Alabama in 2022? Because I'm not trying to rub your nose in the conversation or anything like that, but truly, and I don't know if your opinion has changed today, because certainly it didn't seem like many of your compatriots shared that sentiment about a football regular season win having a greater level of importance to the university, the fan base, the athletic department, which, to be honest, the athletic department probably did, but either way. Can you cure BVS with this national title if it's still fourth or fifth on your list of Tennessee athletic accomplishments?
Here's the thing about that 2022 Alabama win. I'll say this. If Tennessee beats Alabama this upcoming season, it will not feel as good as what happened last night. But that 2022 win represented a lot more than a regular season win. It was exercising the demons of 15 years of not just losing to Alabama, but everything that came with Tennessee athletics as a whole for those 15 years, including football, which drives the ship, which for everybody is 1A, 1B, and 1C when it comes to the Tennessee Vols. So it's just that Alabama win represented a lot more. It was much more of a release than any other regular season win could ever be. So the bliss of that moment, yes, to me, still is number one in my fanhood lifetime, right? I was a toddler when Tennessee won the 98 national championship. That's going to hold a higher place for other people in their Tennessee lifetimes that remember that moment. So it's different for everybody, but just to break through and winning a national championship in a major sport for the first time in well over a decade, yes, I think we can say is at least the momentary cure for battered Vol syndrome. Somebody in the F&M Bank chat says it's not. G. Sully says it'll be back, but we're in remission.
Oh God, that's kind of a dark way to put it, but that's probably the most. You can't ever get rid of it, right? Just as a sports fan,
yeah, as fanhood,
that I think is what makes the highs of a day like today so much sweeter. Is because you have suffered, you have gone, you have dealt with this program that won a title. You have seen it in recent history be irrelevant.
But how would you define BVS? Because we talk about it all the time. How would you actually define battered Vol syndrome?
To me, battered Vol syndrome is this just impending sense of doom that I see in your all's faces whenever we talk about a game with legitimate stakes for the University of Tennessee, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, or otherwise. I can see it in your eyes when I know that you're lying to me about how confident you are in your team. That is battered Vol syndrome to me.
I had a bad flare-up last night. So during the 6th inning, Tennessee's still up 3-1, and one of the shops or the pro shops in Omaha had Tennessee national champion gear out in the 6th inning, and I was like, "Oh no." It's gonna happen. It's over.
That's a pretty good oh no.
It was bad.
You should have saved that for oh no.
Yeah. It was really bad. I was really scared. Had a really bad BVS flare up. I was like, oh no.
A friend of mine, I think jokingly, but it didn't really feel like that big of a joke, yelled at his wife because she came out. We're watching it on Preston screened in.
Is it Preston you're talking about?
No, I'm not talking about Preston. This is our friends Macy and Michael. So we are sitting at a friend's house. We've grilled out for another friend's birthday. We're watching the game. Our buddy Preston has a screened in porch where they've got the TV on and you can watch the game outside while we grill. It's great. So during the 6th inning, while Tennessee is leading, at that point, Michael's wife, Macy, comes outside and says, "Oh, they're going to win, right?" And immediately Michael starts to yell at her. Macy, get back inside.
No.
He is so like squirmy about the fact that she is projecting confidence. I've never seen in my life a more real-time BVS reaction than that. And for the next inning and a half is still pissed, kind of like the idea. He was kind of kidding. He sounded like he was doing a little bit of a bit, but I don't think it was that much of a bit, to be honest with you.
It's also a baseball thing, right? Baseball is a naturally superstitious
he got up
sport.
afterwards, did a lap and went to reset the juju, the feng shui of the patio after Macy had thrown it off by even daring to suggest that Tennessee might comfortably win a championship. And then, things start to unravel a little bit, and Texas A&M cuts the lead to 6-3 at that point. And then, I was concerned for their relationship.
Well, you're right that battered Vol syndrome is that impending sense of doom because it's almost that mentality of, oh no, this is just what happens to us, right? And that's the thing that this team overcame because, you can just keep going backwards. And we'll just keep it in Omaha, for example. The check swing, Blake Burke, goes Tennessee's way. Could have been totally 50-50. It goes Tennessee's way. Just the way we talked about it last week. The way the ball bounced in certain moments that should be errors where runners reach, and it bounces off the dugout fence into the path of Blake Burke after a fumble and overthrow by Christian Morney. Still gets the guy out at second. I can't remember if that was the second FSU game or the UNC game. Either way. And then yesterday, Hunter Ensley, inadvisable base running decision, makes a crazy move, and by inches, he doesn't get tagged out at the plate. We're talking about extra innings if that doesn't happen. So just little things along the way that breaks for Tennessee. That is the antithesis of battered Vol syndrome. So that's why I think this baseball team can say that they defeated BVS, because all of those little things, that impending sense of doom that you're talking about, that the mindset is, oh, this type of stuff doesn't happen for us, it happens against us, which has been the case.
And there were moments where
years.
you could cite it, like we're talking about in the 6th, where things start to just slightly fray, and all of a sudden, you keep an eye on these things on social media as well throughout the course of a game, and just the overcorrections on both sides of things, just whipping the one extreme to the other of confidence and celebrating and, being a little chesty about Tennessee being on the precipice of winning a national title, and the other contingent of the fan base being like, shut up, you idiots. They haven't done it yet. Get away.
Put that gear away.
Yeah, truly. That is. I think that's a justifiable flare-up of BVS to see national title gear for your team laid out at a pro shop before they have actually won the national title. Because you're just at that point asking for a 28-3 situation. No matter how big your margin of it, you're just asking to get hit in the face with some kind of sports karmic justice because somebody put out championship swag too early.
It got tense when Dylan Loy came in because I knew things were going to get stressful the moment Xander Sechrist was pulled after an incredible performance. 5.1 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk, and 1 run allowed. So he gets pulled in favor of the freshman lefty Dylan Loy, and Loy gives up a couple of runs. He's shaky in the 8th. Kirby kind of settles things back down, but you go into the 9th up 6-3 with Aaron Combs, and even when that run scores off the wild pitch, like Combs doesn't seem phased, he's laughing it off because he knows that run doesn't matter. All I got to do is strike out this guy in front of me, and he did. But yeah, I'm not going to lie, that bottom of the 9th, I wouldn't call it BVS, just pure stressful tension. And baseball in those moments, it's fun to be invested like that at the end of a baseball championship because I've never had that feeling in a World Series at the major league level.
Yeah.
So it was my first time having that legitimately excruciating experience of watching every pitch like it's life and death at the end of a championship baseball game. And that was a cool experience for me, for sure.
So neither of you have answered my question that I started the show with because you immediately made Joan Rivers jokes about my face.
Yes.
Appropriately so. How hungover are you two?
Oh, I'm good.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
I don't believe either of you.
I'm not I don't like stress drink when I'm watching Tennessee. I'm not pounding like 12,
I'm not talking about
beers.
stress drink. You didn't. How late were you at that bar last night?
Oh, I was in bed before 11, man.
Oh, well, that's just.
I was in bed before 11. I stayed up.
Well, you two
for
were no fun at all.
A couple hours.
Have we done a wellness check on Slay? I know he put one out as they were winning the thing. I haven't seen signs of him. Isn't he supposed to do an hour with the morning show on Tuesdays? I haven't seen him anywhere.
We need to talk to Slay this week because the NBA draft is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Great sports week, by the way.
It has been a great sports. Well, yesterday it was almost exhausting to go through the drama of what it was to watch the College World Series. And, of course, you have a different level of investment in Tennessee versus Texas A&M as you do for the Edmonton, Florida Game 7. But still, to flip over to that and see the tension in that game up until the very end as well. It was it's going to be a fun sports week for sure. And then the dark times really hit us once we get to the July 4th weekend. But that's okay because we'll wallow in this for a little longer. 615-737-1045 is the number. If you want to join the conversation, we would be happy to have you. Jackson, do I have prizes today?
You do have prizes to give away.
What do I have?
2 tickets to see Post Malone.
Oh, when is the Post Malone concert? So wait, I need clarification. Did you just yell, check your text at me in my ear or over the ear?
That was in your ear.
Okay, very good.
Check your text message.
It was a very sassy, check your text, so I thought it came out. I'm sorry, the attitude. I thought you'd be in a good mood today.
I'm in a great mood, but you just got to read your text messages.
I don't read my text messages or my email. You can't communicate with me this way. So we have Post Malone tickets for you to win. If you haven't done enough winning as a Vols fan, here is your opportunity to do so. All you have to do, so we've done the good. Let's do a little head shaking. Let's do a little BVS because there were plenty of BVS moments last night. What in sports made you say, oh no, in the last couple of days? 615-737-1045, the best submission, whether it's from the Tennessee baseball game last night, whether it's what happened to the Edmonton Oilers, for example, a player losing a Stanley Cup final and winning the series MVP. All these kind of things are admissible for a chance to win 2 tickets to Post Malone's upcoming concert. 615-737-1045. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone.
The celebration continues for Tennessee fans across the Volunteer State and in the Mid-State. What better way to celebrate today than to go get some hot chicken at Hattie B's? Go treat yourself. Hey, guys, it's Lucas Panzica. Wherever you are in Middle Tennessee, there's going to be a Hattie B's near you. Visit any one of their 6 locations, the factory at Franklin, Lower Broadway, Melrose, Midtown, Nashville West, even the Nashville Airport. Hattie B's is open daily at 11 a.m., so about 20 minutes. You can go get yourself one of their new wing flock packs, 12 or 18, full jumbo wings. You can pick 2-quart sides, the pimento mac and cheese, the baked beans, the bacon cheddar grits. It's all so good. How hot or not, or how hot can you go, hot or not? You decide. Remember, the factory at Franklin location is adding breakfast to their menu. They are open daily at 7 a.m. Go get yourself that hot chicken and waffle stack and then report back. Just trust me on that one. You want to skip the line? Download the Hattie B's app. You get a free dessert just by doing so. You can also order Hattie B's for delivery and go get you some of Nashville's best hot chicken today at Hattie B's.
615-737-1045 is the number. If you want the opportunity to win some Post Malone tickets, all you have to do is tell us what made you say, oh no. Now, you're probably feeling pretty good. Winners of the national championship, if you're a Tennessee Volunteers fan, if you're a Vanderbilt fan today, you're probably, not happy. We're going to have a conversation about where things are trending for Tennessee baseball versus Vanderbilt baseball in the immediate future now that this has finally, happened for the University of Tennessee. We'll get to that later in the show, or later in the week, rather. But 615-737-1045 is the number. If you call in and give us the thing that made you say, oh no, we will give you a pair of Post Malone tickets. He is bringing the F1 Trillion Tour to Nissan Stadium on Saturday, October the 19th. He is performing a collection of country songs, including songs off his upcoming album. Tickets on sale this Monday, July 1st at 10 a.m., or you can win them right now, 615-737-1045. I am going to start with mine. And I had a good one that I sent to the group, but I'm going to change my mind, okay? Here, Jackson, we'll divert away from Andy Reid eating 60-plus cheeseburgers, filming a commercial, because, in and of itself, I don't know. That's a tough scene. Pre, during, and post, all of that, bad. But what I'm going to choose instead is something that I keep getting sent pictures about. Did you see the person that they're saying looks like me on the broadcast last night?
I did see that.
I checked my phone at some point when the game went to a commercial break, and I was inundated with pictures of what appears to be, I don't know. Can I have the reckless speculation sound, please? Okay, I'm going to assume that this is a just blackout drunk Tennessee baseball fan who is screaming into the camera as this thing goes to commercial. He kind of looks like me a little bit, but immediately I'm inundated with all kinds of tweets telling me to get the hell out of the stadium. What am I doing in Omaha? You lose every game that you attend in person. Get out. That was what made me say, oh no, in the sixth inning. This person who looks like me at the College World Series screaming with his Oakley shades and Tennessee Vol horizontal striped shirt into the camera before the commercial break.
Maybe your doppelganger broke the Buck curse. Who's to say? My oh no has to be in the Stanley Cup final. Connor McDavid being the second player in NHL history to win the Conn Smythe Trophy, despite being part of the losing team in the Stanley Cup final. For those who don't know, that is, of course, the MVP award in the Stanley Cup final. And the Florida Panthers, despite blowing a 3-0 series lead and it getting all the way to a Game 7, won yesterday in Sunrise 2-1, ending the Oilers' miraculous comeback effort after they trailed 3-0. McDavid is the sixth player in league history to win the Conn Smythe from a team that lost in the Stanley Cup final, and he's only the second skater after Reggie Leach, the legendary Philadelphia Flyer, who was named MVP in 1976. So all the other ones were goaltenders, those MVPs of losing teams. It's deserved. I mean, he had an unbelievable postseason, 42 points. It's the fourth most in a single postseason in NHL history, behind only Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux. So pretty good company to be in. He had a fantastic Stanley Cup final, 11 points in the final, despite not having a single point in each of the last two games and only totaling 2 shots on goal in each of the last 2 games. They both came yesterday, but it was tough to see Connor McDavid, how defeated he was, having to accept that trophy in front of a bunch of screaming Panthers fans.
While the celebration, to do it on the road is tough.
Yeah, brutal. Really cool moments, though, watching the Panthers hoist the cup for the first time in franchise history. So, yes, the MVP award for Connor McDavid, well-deserved.
615-737-1045 is the number. Jackson, what's yours?
We're going really obscure here. So the International Federation of American Football is hosting their World U20 Championships.
Okay.
Canada beat Brazil by a score of 110-0.
I'm sorry.
Damn it.
110-0.
This is like American football that they're playing?
Yes.
All right, so the Brazilians not adept yet. Wait, maybe after they see this Eagles-Packers game or whatever they're going to play in Sao Paulo this year, maybe they'll catch on. But yeah,
I don't think so.
That's a tough one.
Is Cairo Santos on the team?
That's a tough loss. It's under 20, U20.
Okay.
That's demoralizing. That'll get you to never want to play American football ever again.
There are Canadian NFL players. There are not Brazilian NFL players, except for Cairo.
All right, for the opportunity to win some Post Malone tickets for his upcoming concert at Nissan Stadium this October, what in sports made you say, oh, no? Let's start with Rick, who is a stay-at-home dad.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Mm-hmm. Go Vols. My oh no is J.J. Redick's response to how he feels about the naysayers for him getting that job, dropping the big old F-bomb right there on his very first press conference. That was maybe a little extra.
He said it a handful of times. J.J. Redick clearly does not give a bleep about any of it, including your press conference clips. Now, Rob Pelinka, who's the Lakers president, was sitting next to him, looked not jarred. I think that's his face. I think he also gets Botox, so maybe he's just stuck that way. But he looked a little surprised by it and just continued to roll on with the press conference.
I think media training will be the first task of the job for J.J. Redick.
Brother, he is a media member. He's never been. Yeah. What do you mean media training? He's only ever been in front of cameras.
It's different when you're asked the questions.
It's true.
As a head coach.
It's true.
It's going to take some training. You can't just be dropping out 2 F-bombs in your introductory press conference.
I'm for it. Oh, why not? Who cares? Who cares? Like, honestly, who is bothered by that? I'm not going to get bogged down in this, but like,
I'm not bothered.
J.J. Redick says
the franchise is probably bothered.
Nah.
The franchise just got pants by Dan Hurley. If they care about J.J. Redick saying F-bombs at the press conference, they got bigger issues.
Yeah, I don't think their ticket sales are going to take a big hit.
Chris is in pest control.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good.
I don't know if y'all seen Jason Tatum's plagiarism world tour after the NBA Finals last week, but it was pretty corny. He wanted a viral moment so bad that he had to steal everyone else's. After they won and they were doing the interview, he did the "We Did It" and screamed like KG, and then he pulled the stuff and said, "What they gonna say now?" And then after that, he did the they wanted to know what would happen if we didn't win. Guess they'll never know.
What, he had multiple? I didn't see. I saw the KG imitation thing. I didn't realize he went on a whole tour of this, Chris.
Unloaded the
clip.
clip.
It was over and over and over again. There's so many.
Please.
It was so corny, and he just kept on.
All right, Chris Leader in the clubhouse for the Post Malone tickets. That's a great one.
That's good.
615-737-1045. What in sports made you say, oh, no? Let's start with John, who's up next. Hey, John.
Hey, did I make it on?
You sure did.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, thanks for taking my call. Number one, go Vols. I mean, go Vols. It's just freaking awesome. I'm on my way to Knoxville right now to party down with
the parade
team that's coming in, driving from Columbia.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, listen, John, we may recruit you to be our boots on the ground reporter from the championship parade.
Hey, a shout out Kavaris Tears, Columbia native.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, he's a Lewisburg guy, but he played at CA, Columbia Academy. Murray County, Lewisburg. But hey, guys, I tell you, I was stressed on this thing the whole time. We had that number one jinx on our shoulders to start with, and then we go and choke up that first game with 3 errors and get our butt kicked that first game. And I think the odds were like 82% that win that first game, go on to win the championship. So, man, just a sick feeling after that first game, but never say die. The boys came through. So proud of them. It's just an awesome day in Vol history.
I appreciate the call, John, and congratulations to all the Tennessee fans who are there's probably a fair amount of them that are on their way to Knoxville right now for the championship parade. It should be an electric scene. Yeah, that game won.
Did have people saying, oh, no.
Whoa, brother. I mean.
Until it had him saying, oh, yes.
Well, no, game one didn't.
The game won in Omaha.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The Florida State game.
I thought he was talking about the game one of the College World Series against A&M.
Oh, he may have been. I may have gotten that wrong.
Because
I thought he was talking about the early goings, all the errors against FSU that put Tennessee in a big hole that they crawled out of.
Either way, they overcame, which makes that's what makes it that much sweeter, because you did have those stressful moments that John is talking about there. Be French on the YouTube chat says, send them all to Post Malone. Well, unfortunately, we only have 2 tickets. So, Chris, we're doing Chris.
Yeah, Chris with the Jason Tatum stuff.
That's pretty great.
That's pretty. Just unloading the clip.
Just unbelievably cringeworthy.
Cringeworthy catchphrases. None of them original.
Oh,
yes, absolutely.
my God. That's brutal. All right, congratulations to Chris. He is going to see Post Malone in October. Stay on the phone line. Jackson will contact you shortly. And always tune in at 10:45 on Tuesdays when we ask you what in sports made you say, oh no, for the opportunity to win some cool prizes. Coming up next, we are going to get into Tony Vitello. There is no doubt in most people's minds that Tony Vitello is sticking around. What that means for the program and the future on the heels of a Vols national championship. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It is 11 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. The Tennessee baseball Vols are national champs for the first time in program history, beating Texas A&M 6-5 in Game 3 of the National Championship Series on Monday. Xander Sechrist, the winning pitcher, he tossed 5.1 innings with 7 strikeouts, a walk, and 1 run allowed. Aaron Combs got the save, picking up the final 2 outs in the 9th. Dylan Dreiling came up big at the plate, another 2-run shot in the 7th, which gave Tennessee the insurance it needed.
Pitch hit high in the air into right field. Back at the fence. Terrell at the wall. He'll leap, and that ball's in the bullpen. For the 3rd straight game, Dylan Dreiling has delivered for Tennessee. And it's 5 on the board for the Big Orange. Well done, Dylan Dreiling.
The sophomore is the first player in College World Series history to homer in each game of the championship series. Dreiling was named series MVP. He went 7 of 12 over the weekend, 4 runs scored, and 7 RBIs. In the NHL, the Panthers are Stanley Cup champs for the first time in franchise history, winning Game 7 2-1 at home on Monday. Panthers blew a 3-0 series lead to the Edmonton Oilers, but ultimately hoist the cup. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
An absolute thriller, 6-5 over Texas A&M on Monday night in Omaha to clinch the first ever College World Series title for the University of Tennessee. That's what we've been talking about in the first hour. That's what we will continue to talk about. Congratulations to Vols fans. A lot of you guys on your way to Knoxville for the championship parade. Hope you're traveling safely. Hope that the event is awesome and enjoyable. Soak it in, because I'm happy for you. I'm very, very happy for you. I'm also deeply, deeply jealous. I want this so badly in my life. Jackson asked me what the happiest moment of my sports fandom has been, and I had to tell him that there's only been one moment where I've truly been thrilled with what my basketball team has done.
I know it. It's the buzzer beater against Kentucky, right?
It's knocking off Anthony Davis and the number 1 Kentucky team. But, that ignores the fact that in the Sweet 16 later that season, they got smoked by Kentucky that would go on to win the national championship. So I have very few moments like this one. That's why I'm telling you, please, for me, I'm living vicariously through you today. Please enjoy every moment, though I know I don't have to tell Vols fans to take advantage of a celebration. 615-737-1045 is the number. We'd be happy to have you at any point. You can jump in as you like. You also have access to the F&M Bank chat on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. So this is a history-making run. It's a history-making team in a variety of different ways. Not just the first number 1 overall seed to win the national championship since Miami did it way back in 1999. They are also, and this was courtesy of Saturday Down South, just the 4th team ever to win the SEC regular season, the SEC tournament, and the College World Series titles in the same year. What did you just say in my ear?
The guy who looks like you is online too.
Oh, God.
No way. The doppelganger.
Are you kidding me?
It's what he told me. He could lie. I mean, I can't see him. It's not FaceTime back
Very
here.
easy to lie.
All right. It just says the Buck lookalike online, too. We'll give it a run. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
We're swell. All right. So since this is an audio medium, how are we going to be? How did you come to realize that you were being identified as me on a national television broadcast last
And how
night?
do we know you are who you say you are?
Indeed.
So, we can get a video call later on this week or whatever. You tell me. But, yeah, my buddy down in Nashville, he told me, he was like, they're talking about that crazy Vol fan in the 5th inning on 104.5 The Zone right now. You got to call him. And I was like, all right. So
here you are.
Here he is.
yeah, here I am.
So
I just got back to South Carolina like an hour ago.
Okay,
My voice is gone. I was at the bars I was at the bar with a couple of the baseball guys till about 1:45 and hitched my ride back to Kansas City at 2 a.m. for my 6 a.m. flight.
Oh my God! So that is commitment. Yeah. All right. So what's your name? We might as well do that because I hate to just revert to you as lookalike.
Yeah, it's Jordan. Can I give you my last name? Can I say that on air?
I mean, it's up to you. It's I don't want to put you in a bad spot. But if you want to disclose that information, you're more than welcome to. Clearly, you've already been identified by the hordes on the internet, so I don't know how safe you feel out there.
Yeah, no, it's Jordan Dotson, D-O-T-S-O-N. I've got a twin brother, too. It's funny.
Wow. There are dozens of us, Lucas. Dozens of us.
The Dotson doppelgangers.
Yeah.
Well, that's excellent.
That
tell us about the experience, because so that game, obviously, how long have you been in Omaha?
So I actually just flew in Saturday morning. Got in at we flew into KC, landed at 1:45, and then drove up and got to Omaha at 4:45. But we didn't book our flights till Friday night, and then of course drove back out early this morning. But I got to give a special shout out to my wife too, because yesterday was our 7th wedding anniversary, and she was in South Carolina and I was in Omaha. So and she told me to stay. She's like, stay.
That's commitment.
You're already there. Go enjoy it.
Well, we so appreciate you calling us. Congratulations to you guys on your wedding anniversary, first and foremost, and then the national championship, the important things. And thanks for buzzing the show. This was fun.
No better way to celebrate it. Thanks, guys.
That is the Vols fan lookalike from Omaha, Nebraska that was getting sent to me on Twitter during the broadcast yesterday. That's hilarious. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. How about Michael?
Hey, Buck, I was just an observation on the play at home with Inslee. I feel like that catcher was setting up for the collision, and when he did that move, it was such a weak attempt to tag. I don't think that guy was anticipating that move at all.
Oh, but how could you, Michael, right? It's an insane thing for him to do. In that not even just the move that he made, but to try and make the play there at all. It's probably, we talked about this earlier, it's probably ill-advised.
Amen. I just felt like every catcher would set up to anticipate that collision, and when Inslee made that, I thought it just freaked him out. Because you see his attempt to tag was so weak.
Truly, I appreciate the call, Michael. It is one of the, among a College World Series, not just the final series, but the entirety of the 2 weeks that they've been in Omaha, because it's a really long time. Of all the spectacular plays that were made, and we're gonna talk about this at noon, but I mean the Hunter Inslee barreling around third base situation is probably going to be one of the top moments. Not to spoil anything. One would imagine that's going to make an appearance in our conversation.
Yeah, legendary stuff.
All
See
right.
how many more of those they can get in the Tony Vitello era.
Truly. So if you want to jump in, we'd be happy to have you talking about this Vols national championship. But first, let's talk about Vitello, okay? Now, you have been told at every turn that Tony Vitello is not going anywhere. There seems to be precious little reason to believe otherwise. This is 7 years in the making for Tony Vitello as the head coach of the Tennessee baseball program. They had prior, and Lucas, correct me if I'm not wrong here, or correct me if I am wrong here, but they had missed the NCAA tournament 12 consecutive times prior to Vitello getting there. Is that accurate?
It sounds very accurate. I mean, I can look it up to see if that's exactly right, but yes, that sounds accurate. This program was in the depths of the depths of the depths of SEC baseball.
So after the game, Tony Vitello is being interviewed. It's a very, very emotional interview with ESPN. Chris Budden, who is the sideline reporter for the College World Series, and you could tell that he's clearly trying to hold it in and Jackson, is this appropriately bleeped?
It is.
Okay, let's hear from Tony Vitello and then the interruption to Tony Vitello.
That thing hit the end. You sprinted out to your group. Take me to that moment and why this group has meant so much to you.
They're fun. Loss of voice and emotion, too. They're fun, but also just like Kids are tough these days. These guys will do whatever you ask them to do. Holy I'm on the I don't really know what happened the last pitch, but I know our fans got us through that tough inning. I guess we were intentionally giving him a couple runs or whatever Combsy was doing. But that was a group effort on the mound. Frank did an unbelievable job. Incredible group of guys. The team chemistry. Just be a good teammate if you're listening. If you're in the SEC, you're going to be a superstar player, but you need to be a good teammate, and that's what these guys were.
We've talked about wanting to build something, build a program like your dad had. You had a wonderful embrace with him. What was that moment like?
I felt like I was the dad and he was the kid because he wouldn't stop crying. And I had to rub some dirt on him. He's way too tough on me when I was younger.
So that is right before he gets ice bathed very quickly, and then there's all kinds of F-bombs that are dropped, and he's very happy.
All over the place.
And eating ice cubes off the grass and all kinds of other crazy stuff. Tony Vitello with Chris Budden last night. So it's a very emotional moment, especially because the broadcast showed his father very frequently. I think it's been really well documented, the relationship that Vitello has with his father. And, he's talking there about he was a little too tough on me growing up as a kid, but, all the different things that you go through as a father-son in sports, whatever your sport is, football, baseball, basketball, and, any parent-kid relationship where it comes to professional sports, the hours that you put in. It's not just about Tony Vitello reaching the mountaintop as the national championship coach, but it's about his father who put in the time who instilled the love of baseball in him, who helped teach him the game, who helped him through the tough times, who gave him, I'm sure support at every turn in however that looks from Tony Vitello's dad. Everybody probably has an experience like that who have children participating in sports. You put in all kinds of time, effort, blood, sweat, tears into all of it. And to see that moment in particular with family members has to be really, really cool. But to hear Austin Price tell it of VolQuest doesn't sound like there's any real threat that Tony Vitello would end up somewhere else with a really big payday after winning the national championship in Tennessee.
I believe they'll announce an extension with Coach Vitello with a huge bump in pay and a huge salary pool for his assistants. Something I've been told is going to be the largest salary pool for assistants in the country, which was something that was very important to Coach Vitello. And he's not going anywhere. The guy loves Tennessee. He's a very loyal guy. Tennessee took a chance on him. Italians are loyal. And he's talked about that, the loyalty, and that being a big thing for him. So this guy's going nowhere. He's crowd surfing last night with all the fans, out there. And, he knows he has that it factor. And you see how, Rick Barnes and Josh Heupel react to him last night. Down on the field, just really impressive because he has been there every step of the way, sitting front row, courtside for Rick Barnes games, or being down on the sidelines, pumping the crowd up when they throw him up on the jumbotron at the football games. He's been fantastic all during his entire tenure here, and the guy just loves Tennessee.
That's Austin Price on Ramon, Kayla, and Will earlier this morning after the Vols win the national championship in Game 3, 6-5. Over Texas A&M. We'll take more of your phone calls on the Tennessee title coming up next, 615-737-1045. We'll also talk about which Vols athletic program is next with championship aspirations. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. The Vols are national champs. Ain't it fun? Jackson and Lucas are rolling around in it like a dog in bad smells at this point.
Jackson, do you want to tell us what you went and watched after the game yesterday to celebrate the Vols' first national title, basically in your cognizant lifetime?
I went and watched the Texas A&M press conference because I wanted to see tears.
He didn't go watch his coach talk.
Oh, you're one of those.
Or his players talk. No, he watched the losing team talk after his team beat them.
See, now this is what we've lacked as a show. The person that goes and seeks out the opposing fan base's trauma to revel in after the fact.
Well, you got it now, buddy. I search up I hate Tennessee on Twitter after stuff like this. I got through a good 15 minutes of that.
And what was your experience?
It was wonderful. Just a bunch of salty tears.
And he's not like tweeting back at him or anything, right?
He's just taking it in.
Just reading them.
You don't need to engage. You've already won.
Just smelling the roses. And they smelled wonderful.
I love that. So for the Vols fans, feeling pretty good today. For the Texas A&M fans, and apparently somebody in the YouTube comments brings up the post-game press conference with A&M's coach was something about it was either cringeworthy or oh-no-worthy.
Yeah, he was asked about the Texas job.
Oh, because Texas, the Longhorns famously have fired their head coach yesterday or a couple of days ago and have interest in both coaches that were competing for the national championship.
Allegedly, yes. But Jackson, I'm sending you the audio now because, yeah, it was.
Is it cringy?
It was kind of a tough listen. Okay. But you got to look at the timing of Texas making it officially official that Pierce was fired hours before first pitch of their arch rivals, Texas A&M.
No. This is. I'm sorry, you said this was before or after? This is after, right? This postgame?
This is after. I'm talking about the timing of Texas making the firing official.
Yeah,
something that like the college baseball world knew was happening.
Yes.
But they chose to officially fire Pierce hours before their arch rivals threw first pitch for the national championship.
It's the Lakers saying that they have interest in J.J. Redick before game 3 of the finals or whatever.
Yeah.
Something ridiculous. All right, so this is the Texas A&M coach, Jim Schlossnagle. When asked about, quote, a specific job opening.
Coach, with respect to the difficult outcome tonight, but with the rumors circulating today about a specific job opening, what do you have to say about your future in Aggie land?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question, to be honest with you. But I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again. And that hasn't changed in my mind. That's unfair to talk about something like that. That'd be like you asking Montgomery if he's going to sign in the draft. But I understand you got to ask the question. But I gave up a big part of my life to come take this job, and I've poured every ounce of my soul in this job, and I've given this job every single ounce I can possibly give it. So write that.
Coach, thank you very much.
He said, Coach, thank you very much.
A very scared PR person afterwards. It's like the Alabama player that made the D's nuts joke at the podium a couple of years ago, and you just hear a scared PR person in the back yell, "No, no, no!"
Oh, who was that? I think it was Battle. It was Battle, the safety.
Either way. So, and I appreciate that the coach understands that the question has to be asked, right? Because that is the question that has to be asked after, Coach, what happened in the game? The second question, or at least the second or third, has to be, what's your future look like at Texas A&M? Because this is out here. And while I understand that the question has to be asked, having been in those press conference settings, I'm also not ignorant of the coach's feelings there because he is correct. Both things can be correct. The question has to be asked, and his response is appropriate and fair. I don't think there's anything about it because both sides are doing what they need to in that spot. Even as it might seem, tone deaf for fans may consider it tone deaf for the media to be asking about that in the immediate aftermath. No, you have to ask that. We didn't ask Mike Vrabel in his final press conference after the Jags win about whether he thought he was going to be the Titans head coach, Monday morning or whatever the case may be. And I thought that was one of the biggest missteps as a media corps we've made, because that was the last time that we talked to him after he got fired. That's the last moment that you have to go off of for the better part of a month while they hire a coach. So the question has to be asked, because you don't know when you're going to get in front of that person the next time with the way that these media availabilities work. So I get why fans might think the reporter, they're tone deaf. I appreciate that the Texas A&M coach handled it as diplomatically as he did.
We talk about BVS. I don't know if Battered Aggie Syndrome is a thing, but Texas A&M
it's starting to get there.
It's got to be getting there. They haven't won a national title in anything, and that is an historic, rich, big school and athletic department. So I certainly wonder what the vibe is around College Station right now.
Well, the vibes around Tennessee are great, because it's not just the baseball program winning the national championship, although that is the primary source of your joy today. It's that the athletic department is as healthy as it's ever been. Softball is coming off a College World Series run on their side of things. Or, excuse me, they won
the SEC regular season. They fell one game short of the Women's College World Series.
Apologies. So they are coming off a postseason appearance on the softball side of things. They have been obviously hugely successful with Rick Barnes at the University of Tennessee. The Lady Vols have recently made a new coaching hire, so they are attempting to improve as a program where women's college basketball is one of the biggest talking points in collegiate sports right now. Football program appears to be ascending. We'll see how much Nico Iamaleava can kind of vault this thing into a different level or a different tier of competitiveness. But the point is that what's the least competitive Tennessee sports program right now?
Major sport. We'll just stick to the major sports, right?
Major sports.
With no disrespect to track and field, but the sports that everybody's following, it's Lady Vols basketball, easily.
Sure. But they are endeavoring to get that right, where the other programs are experiencing a certain degree of athletic success. Football is the thing that most people, understandably, you're going to put the most importance on getting the football program back to where it needs to be, because that is the University of Tennessee at its core. Athletic program-wise, that is the University of Tennessee. And everything else, you're a fan of as a result, but football is a number one. Danny White has done as good a job as anybody in the country at building an all-around successful athletic department. If I was a Vols fan, I don't know that I would necessarily be concerned about either Tony Vitello, because, Austin Price is saying that a contract extension is on the doorstep. He expects it to be done. Nobody expects Tony. It would be a true shock, if Tony Vitello was anywhere but the University of Tennessee in the future. But what about Danny White? Do Vols fans ever think about that?
About Danny White getting poached by someone?
I don't know who would poach him, because Tennessee is the kind of program that should be doing the poaching, right? But Danny White should be the name at the top of nearly every job opening list, talking about athletic departments trying to restore themselves to some level of greatness. If I was a Vols fan, I don't know that I'm concerned about either of them, because I trust that Tennessee knows what it has in Danny White and is not going to let themselves get poached. They've worked so hard and been through so much as an athletic department to let somebody like this leave for what would be at least financially greener pastures.
Yeah. You wonder, how many programs...
There's not that many.
He would have to pick up the phone for, because there are some that you have to pick up the phone for. And Texas A&M probably thought that Ross Bjork was going to be their athlete. Who we can pay Ross Bjork whatever he wants. He ends up leaving. He's going to go be the AD at Ohio State. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you're always going to pick up the phone for a certain number of programs. I don't know what those departments would be for Danny White. I don't know if it would be a Texas or a USC or an Oklahoma, He's a Kentucky native.
There's probably not 15 programs in the country, athletic departments in the country, that you would leave Tennessee for.
No, he went to Notre Dame, right? He played some basketball at Notre Dame, Danny White. So would he answer a phone call from his alma mater? I don't know. But I think you feel pretty good about what he's building at the moment. And top to bottom, they just extended Randy Boyd, the university president. He announced it a few hours before the game yesterday.
What's the status of Donnie Plowman?
I don't know what her contract status is, but there's no whispers or rumors whatsoever about any sort of change at the very top of things with Tennessee athletics. The question is, who's next? Now that Tony Vitello and the Vols have broken through, and the answer probably is still...
It's baseball.
Tony Vitello and the Vols. Like, they have the best opportunity, probably. Number one recruiting class coming in next year, which is always iffy in baseball because you never know how many of those kids are just going to go pro and skip over college. But that program is in the healthiest place of any of the three major sports.
So let's work from the back end. Let's work from the bottom up. Lady Vols have the farthest to go in terms of championship aspirations of the main, again, no disrespect to indoor or outdoor men's and women's track and field, swimming and diving, things like that, because I do understand that Tennessee has championships in those sports as well. And those things do matter, but just for the purpose of as close to the revenue sports as humanly possible, right? Lady Vols basketball, bottom of the list, coaching change at the end of the year. They bring in now Kim Caldwell, who is their latest coach, to try and rectify the situation, because you have seen how much, one, success this program has in its history, two, how much you can get buy-in. You've already had the buy-in from Vols fans around the Lady Vols, but how much that can carry into nationally televised attention for your university with what just happened in women's basketball this past season. But we would put the Lady Vols at the bottom of the list, right?
Yes. If we're doing football, basketball, baseball, yes. Lady Vols currently are furthest away.
I'm going to put Rick Barnes second furthest away. And here's why. So ahead of Kim Caldwell and the Lady Vols. So if we're doing four here?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to put Rick Barnes second. I'm going to explain why.
Behind baseball.
No, I'm sorry. Second to last ahead of Kim Caldwell. My logic is the NCAA tournament is as hard to win as any of these postseasons that you have out there. I think football expanding the postseason increases the percentage chance for a football program to break through. Now that the number is not only 4, I'm not saying that it's any easier to get through a 12-team. I mean, I don't know how much easier it is to get through a 12-team playoff than a 68-team bracket, right? Depending on what kind of percentages you want to put on it. But I do think that the NCAA tournament presents more hurdles in men's college basketball than a 12-team playoff might, because I think the percentage chance for chalk is greater in the 12-team football playoff, chalk getting through, than is in the NCAA tournament. Because you can be a number 2 overall seed, the way Tennessee is, and not achieve the way that you might. To make a Sweet 16 is a success in that year, in that sport. It's really, really hard to win the NCAA title in college basketball. I mean, it's not the only reason why Dan Hurley's staying, because he's best equipped to do it 3 times in a row. There's just so much more randomness involved in that than the other sports, which is why I would put Rick Barnes second to last in that conversation.
I would disagree. I'd put Rick second behind baseball. As if you're taking baseball out of the conversation, I'd say Tennessee basketball is closest, because with your argument, you're putting Heupel and Tennessee football in front of basketball. Right?
I am. And I don't do that, like, obviously. There's something about watching March Madness where we're there for the upsets first and foremost. College football upsets happen all the time. It's just way more prevalent in basketball.
The thing is, Tennessee has yet to, under Josh Heupel, put together a roster that can legitimately compete for a national championship, right? Tennessee's roster is not yet to the level of Georgia's. It's not to the level of what Michigan's was last year. It's not to the level of what Alabama's was in any one of their national championships under Saban. Rick Barnes has now had multiple rosters in his Tennessee tenure that are good enough to win a national championship. The Grant Williams Admiral Schofield team. This is the stretch of Tennessee basketball, the tenure of Tennessee basketball that by far has had people picking the Vols to win the national championship in brackets more than ever, because they've had teams that are good enough to do so. They haven't, obviously. They haven't even gotten that first Final Four, and they just matched the best tournament run in program history with an Elite Eight just this past year. But think about that. Tennessee was 3 wins away from a national title this past season with the roster that nobody would argue was not good enough to do it, with the premier player in Dalton Connect. Now, if that roster can hold up in that way next year, and Chaz Lanier is everything that they need him to be, and Zakai Ziegler and Jemai Mashak and some younger guys step up, that all remains to be seen. But Rick Barnes has shown a sample size of having a roster that you look at and say, oh, that team is national championship caliber. Heupel hasn't done that yet. And that is the hardest hump to get over, I think, in college sports, is putting together a football roster that you can look at and legitimately say, oh, that is a national title contending roster, because there's only a handful of those in the country.
Well, and we're having this conversation, this exercise is next year, right? Like in the next sports cycle, who is closest? We're not talking about long term here, right?
I'm just talking about the team that is best positioned outside of baseball to win a national championship next for Tennessee.
Okay, well then let me steal a point from the YouTube comments that I think is applicable to this conversation and that I would use in support of my argument. Rick Barnes is going to be 70 next month. I don't know how much longer Rick Barnes is going to want to do it. We've seen coaches coach into their 70s. That's not, beyond the pale. Is Boeheim still the coach of Syracuse?
No, Boeheim stepped down.
But still, like, Rick, I don't know if Rick Barnes is going to be, a ghost on the sideline the way that Boeheim was at this point. It's possible, but I do think that 70 years old has to be factored in when you talk about the age of the rest of the coaches. Heupel is not. I mean, is Heupel 45? He might be. He's mid-40s, right?
Yeah, definitely. He's 46.
Okay, so 45, 46. There's a significant effort required at 70 years old to sustain that level. So I don't want to use his age against him, but I'm going to use it in support of my argument to say that the degree of difficulty and the window for basketball, not that they could, I fully trust that Danny White could go out and find a capable, competent basketball coach, but this is different. Rick Barnes is one of the best basketball coaches in the country. No matter what you think of his postseason record versus his regular season record, there is no disputing that almost every university. Do you know what I would do for Rick Barnes? I've talked to you. For the amount of you that want to run Rick Barnes off, please, God, let me have him. I'll take him in a heartbeat. I don't care how old he is. Point being, it does change the dynamics slightly.
I do think he's been, because it's a fair point, but I think he's been rejuvenated by this era of college athletics, which is such a weird thing to say, because for most coaches, that has been what has beaten them down and had a lot of coaches want to get out because of it. But just for the fact of the transfer portal, and I don't want to say how much easier it is to address your roster every offseason, but if you're able to utilize it well and you become a good portal destination for players, which Tennessee kind of has over the last few years, that's a lot easier than grinding on the recruiting trail every single year and developing kids from the moment they're 18 years old. You bring in a Dalton Connect, who is not a finished product. He comes to Tennessee because he wants to improve his defense and be a better all-around player, but he's already an established scorer of the basketball. Chaz Lanier was one of the best scorers of the basketball last season in all of mid-major basketball. So I think he's kind of gotten new life out of that, and his ability to replenish his roster every year with guys that are proven at the college level already, and that's bought him a few more years. But I do see your logic there. I just think right now, Tennessee basketball is best positioned to make that run, and we'll see what football can prove this year, because the talent profile is still below that of Georgia's, but that was the case 2 years ago, and you were able to knock off Alabama. The offense made up for a lot of that. How much can Nico Imaliava and the Tennessee offense make up for that talent and depth gap across the board against the Georgias of the world remains to be seen.
615-737-1045 is the number. Tennessee winning the national championship 6-5 over Texas A&M last night. We will take a brief pause in the baseball discussion to talk about a big event that was here in Nashville last week and the implications of it on the NFL side of things. We will get back to the most memorable moments of the Tennessee baseball season, however, at noon today. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Tennessee wins the national championship, wins the College World Series. Vols fans' morale is through the roof, it would seem. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. We didn't talk at all, and it's not like we're going to spend a lot of time on it today specifically, but we didn't talk much at all about tight end U last week, especially with the fact that, do you see how many different kinds of players they had in town for this, not just tight ends?
Oh, like different positions?
Different position, like Dak Prescott being a part of tight end U this year is a new thing. The Dallas Cowboys quarterback participating, coming to Nashville specifically for that. You had a lot of guys in town for the Live Golf event, which we really didn't talk about at all either from the weekend.
How was that? Was that a cool scene?
So, I have never been to a PGA event. So I don't know what to compare the Live Golf event to. What I know of, the Grove is a beautiful course. 2, it was 1,000 degrees out there. So I have sincere sympathy for people that did not have like a credential that it was easy for me to go get a water. I heard a lot of people were waiting a considerable amount of time in the concession stands lines. And, not speaking from personal experience, I'd love to hear feedback from those of you, because I ran into a bunch of people that listened to the show out there at the Grove for the Live event over the weekend. Now, full transparency, I think the whole thing's a bit gimmicky. I don't know how I feel about the shotgun start. I don't love the team names like the Crushers or whatever. John Rahm. John Rahm looks ridiculous in like the logos and the outfit and all that. And, all of it, the Live thing to me feels gimmicky. But if you're going to bring the waste management basically to Nashville, which is what this is. That's what it was.
Party.
The whole slogan, and it's slapped everywhere across the golf course and all the signage, golf but louder is Liv's tagline, okay? And it's, it's loud. I mean, it's a vibe. It sounds, if you put a golf tournament in the middle of the Las Vegas Strip is what Live feels like. You got Greg Norman walking around with a bunch of Instagram models, taking pictures, signing autographs and stuff like that. You've got, athletes. Levis played in the Pro-Am with Phil Mickelson. I know Kittle and Forsberg took part in it as well. So they're getting star power. Nashville's obviously a great place, or outside of Nashville, because I think the Grove's about a 30-minute car ride. And full disclosure, I had parking. I didn't have to mess with much, just going and walking around. And I met some buddies out there at the Birdie Shack at a certain point and enjoyed the experience very much. But having not been to what?
Just felt a little braggy.
Yeah, he did. He just kind of kept going.
I didn't have to worry about all the lines. Full disclosure.
I had a credential, so I got air conditioning, I got parking. I didn't have to worry about any lines.
I'm just saying, if I'm going to give you an evaluation of this thing, I feel like I should mention I didn't have to mess with parking. I didn't have to deal with concessions. I didn't have to wait in lines. Like that.
Did you have a butler?
I hate you.
The Live Golf team names.
Wait till tomorrow when I go to this beer Olympics and name drop all these people that I'm not really talking to, but just kind of next to.
Can I go ahead and preload some fine?
These team names are hilarious.
They're bad. They're really bad.
Ripper, Fireballs, Aces, Crushers,
the logos.
Torque.
Yeah, the logos are worse than the names, honestly.
Brooks Koepka is the captain of Team Smash.
Yeah, so the thing is a gimmick, right? But the most objectionable part of it is the Saudi-backed financing, which some people may have issue with. Some people are content to ignore. I'm not going to say that the Saudis bought me after 3 hours at a golf course, but I could very much see how they're going about sports washing all of this to make it a fun experience. Because if you had, for example, let's just say a boys' weekend or something like that, and you took your buddies out to the Grove for the Live Golf event, you probably had a phenomenal weekend despite the heat. Because it's just really well set up. They threw a great party around golf, and that's not what the PGA is. The PGA is, 500 years of the sport. There will be reverence. There will be no phones. There will be no DJ. There will be no, there will be no party, basically. I mean, there is a party after whatever major you win, but it's just different, the vibe.
You were talking about Tight End University, Tight End U that just happened this past weekend in Nashville. Were there any Titans tight ends in attendance?
So I don't know. I don't know if Wiley or who's the Dutch? Odukoya. Thomas Odukoya was out there. Chig
Vanett, the former Charger that they signed.
Yeah, I don't know about. Basically, I know Chig wasn't there. And maybe Chig was there for a part of it, but I didn't see. I know Chig was out of town, I think, for at least a portion of it. So I don't know that there was a full Titans participation. The tight end that everybody wants to know if he was a tight end, you or not. I know Glennon asked C.J. Uzoma, the former, most recently Jet. Well, actually, where is he right now? He signed a contract somewhere. Either way.
He's bounced around a lot recently.
Yeah, so
he's an Eagle.
He's an Eagle right now. He was most recently with the Jets. Before that, he was with the Bengals and Brian Callahan. I saw John Glennon do a post for the Nashville Post talking to Uzoma about the tight end role in Callahan's offense, but Chig wasn't out there to be, talked to. Anyway, 615-737-1045 is the number. Oh, we got some feedback on the Live Golf. Walter wants to weigh in on Live.
Hey, guys, how you doing?
Great.
Hey, Liv was great. I work for Waste Management. I've been to the Waste Management Phoenix Open 3 times, 2015, 17, 19. I think they've kind of modeled the whole Liv thing after the Waste Management Phoenix Open. It was louder. It was good. It was very, very hot. One of the coolest moments in the fan village, we're in line to do a little fake promo, and right behind me was David Gossett. David Gossett's from Memphis. He won the 1999 U.S. Amateur at Pebble Beach. I turned around and said, David Gossett, and his little kids were with him. I was like, I said, do you guys know how big a deal your dad is? And he was just flabbergasted that I knew who he was. His kids were really good. But, here's the thing with Liv. I love the PGA Tour, and I think Liv is also good too. But it's like, old school religion and old school church. When you go to church, you have to be kind of prim and proper and everything. And now church is kind of like non-denominational. There's electric guitars, there's bass, there's drums.
Yeah.
Everybody's singing. And it brings the kids in, and it brings the young people in. And the atmosphere, again, like you said, it was very nonchalant. And we had a great time. It was just a little too hot. The lines were a little bit too long in some places. But overall, man, it was a great experience.
Thanks for the call, Walter. I appreciate it. Yeah,
I love that comparison.
Well, he's spot on.
Absolutely. Live Golf equals Righteous Gemstones.
Well, I do like the idea, though, of him comparing that to like one of these mega churches that's more, I don't want to say it's more about the entertainment than it, whatever. That's not a conversation that I want to have today. But the point about it being more jazz hands and fireworks, right, than your typical church experience. More jazz hands, more fireworks than your typical PGA event. Both things have their place. We haven't heard from Charlie and Franklin in a while, but I'm sure Charlie's out there on a golf course somewhere, and he's shaking a fist at us very angrily because we're, daring to compare or say that Liv has a place anywhere near the PGA. I'm assuming that, maybe I'm making assumptions. I shouldn't do that, Charlie, if you're out there, but I'm assuming that he's probably somebody who's a hardline PGA guy, right? That this Live Golf thing has no place in the sport. It does have a place, though, and that's why I'm fascinated to see if it can rate on television, because the television thing is going to sustain it. That they don't have right now. But as an event, it's hard. It was hard to go out there and not enjoy it, even as I have plenty of reservations about the Live Golf backing more than the experience.
Taylor on the F&M Bank chat says, Live is golf with Happy Gilmore in charge.
It really is. All right, coming up next, the most memorable moment of the Tennessee baseball season. Can you boil it down to one? We're going to talk about several to start the noon hour, and Teresa Walker is going to join us in studio. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Are you not able to enjoy the summer as much as you want to because of joint pain? Speaking of joint issues, if you were at the Live Golf event, if you were walking the course the way that so many of us were, you probably did not enjoy that experience. It's the best time for being outdoors, but not if your knees, shoulders, backs, or hips are hurting. Don't suffer any longer. Non-surgical joint pain relief is here from QC Kinetics, so you should call them today. They're the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. I'm talking lasting relief with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. QC is the best in the business, and they are utilizing your body's ability to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. Their advanced protocols have enabled tens of thousands of patients to reclaim their mobility. So stop putting it off and take action now. Live your best life again with QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024.
We are seconds away from 12 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. The Tennessee Baseball Vols are national champs for the first time in program history, beating Texas A&M 6-5 in Game 3 of the National Championship Series on Monday. Xander Sechrist was the winning pitcher. He tossed 5.1 innings with 7 strikeouts, a walk, and 1 run allowed. Aaron Combs got the save, picking up the final 2 outs in the 9th. Dylan Dreiling came up big at the plate with another 2-run shot in the 7th. That gave Tennessee the insurance it needed. Dreiling was named series MVP, going 7 of 12 with 4 runs scored and 7 RBIs. The sophomore is the first player to homer in each game of the championship series. This is how it sounded on the Vol Network.
The pitch. Swing and a miss. That's the ball game. How about that? The Aggies scored 2 in the 9th, but the Volunteers, Tennessee. The climb is complete.
That is John Wilkerson on the Vol Network call, as heard here on The Zone. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Feels like Vols fans almost can't believe that they are national champions today. Welcome back to the show. We're happy to have you for this final hour. Tennessee baseball, as you heard Lucas say in his update, champs after dismantling, not quite dismantling, but getting past, surviving Texas A&M 6-5 in Game 3 of the College World Series last night. So, of the 2-week run that was the College World Series and all the postseason moments that you had as a result, what was the most memorable moment of the Tennessee baseball season? It's a really tough question to answer when you consider how many things this particular Tennessee team accomplished en route to finishing it off last night in Omaha, Nebraska. There are moments from the regular season, from the SEC tournament, from the regional, the super regional, of course, the College World Series itself, down to the final against Texas A&M, that is littered with any number of impactful and important moments en route to achieving the ultimate goal. But if you had to pick your favorite, what would it be? You can interact with the show if you want. 615-737-1045 is the number. You can also chime in on the F&M Bank chat. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. G. Sully says, it's the FSU comeback for me. I watched a ton of games this year, and those final innings were the epitome of the team's identity, the composure, and the clutch nature of it. That's when I first thought we are going to win the whole thing. There's a lot of people who are going to look at that FSU game and argue not just the FSU game, but the moments within the FSU game, like Christian Moore hitting for the cycle and route to winning, helping that comeback be completed, where Vols fans are going to look at that as one of the most important moments that an individual player had at any point in the season to keep the season alive. But you can go through the list: Dylan Dreiling, Hunter Ensley, so many different players involved in this. And of course, it's a team effort to achieve what they were able to achieve. For me, though, it is Hunter Ensley. And it's barreling around third base. It's the injured hammy. It's life on the line, glory on the line in the final game of the 3-game College World Series. Him ripping past that tag, the outstretched glove of the Texas A&M catcher, what's his name, Jackson Apple, I want to say?
It was spelled like Appel. I believe it's Appel. Maybe it's Apple. Either way.
Was that necessary?
For the sake of clarity.
Anyway, so with a Matrix-like maneuver, Hunter Ensley just barely gets by the outfield, or the reach, of the catcher who's trying to tag him out at third. Signals safe, hurls his helmet towards the backstop. Celebration doesn't quite commence all the way because, of course, you still have several innings, several outs to complete. But that moment, that scoring run, was as big a moment at any point in this College World Series for me, not just because of the move that he made, but the implications of it, putting your body on the line, all of the sports cliches that we talk about en route to winning a championship. But it's tough for me to not pick a Dylan Dreiling moment, given that he had 17 at any given point through the College World Series.
It was a football move.
Hunter
Ensley, former great football player at Huntington High School, was a finalist for the 1A Mr. Football Award in Tennessee that they do at Nissan Stadium with those ceremonies. So he carried that over a little bit. I got to go with Christian Moore hitting for the cycle against Florida State. And just the tone setter that comeback win was, which does not happen without any one of those hits by Christian Moore, the single, the double, the triple, or the homer. Tennessee does not win that game. And I don't know that Tennessee doesn't turn around and go undefeated out of the losers bracket. It's a very hard thing to do, and very few teams have done that in the history of the College World Series. That first game is so pivotal. So I got to go with SEMO having one of the most legendary performances in Tennessee athletics history. And we talked about how much do we really remember that performance if Tennessee loses that game? The Florida State game. SEMO going for the cycle.
You remember it for a wasted opportunity.
Right,
That's
exactly.
what you remember it most for.
Exactly.
You hit for the cycle and lost.
Yeah. So, on the other hand, how well do you remember that if Tennessee doesn't win the national title? Still stands as an all-time moment. That's probably the best moment in program history if Tennessee doesn't win the title. Luckily for Tennessee, the best moment in program history happened yesterday because they won it all in Game 3. But I got to go with SEMO hitting for the cycle.
A lot of suggestions in the F&M Bank chat with talking about not letting the Evansville loss affect them was huge. That's from Silas Bryant on YouTube. A loss like that to what seemed like a team of destiny in Evansville took insane composure. I don't think the Aces are the team of destiny, but I appreciate you playing up the mighty Evansville Aces for the moment.
They were the Cinderella for sure.
Well, yeah, but that's hardly the team of destiny. Jackson?
I'm going, it's a Hunter Inslee play. It's when he smacked the center field wall. That was incredible. Left his eye black on the outfield wall. Just full effort, full go. The sound he made when he crashed into that like a freight train.
Yeah.
One I'll never forget.
615-737-1045. What was your favorite moment? It can be the regular season, the SEC. It can be any of it because this team not only won the SEC in the regular season, won the SEC tournament, had the success that they did through the regional and the super regional, and then, 5 of 6 in the College World Series is what they would ultimately go on to win. Let's go with Wesley, who's a driver.
Hey, it has to be Hunter Inslee's avoidance of that tag.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, and then, like I said, he put his body on the line multiple times during this postseason, so I'd have to say Hunter Inslee, but close to SEMO for that cycle.
Thanks for the call, Wes. We appreciate it. The phrase, I'm going to give my all for Tennessee. Give your all for Tennessee today. Hunter Inslee, and I mean, they all to an extent embody that, but like when I think of that in this baseball season, I think of Hunter Inslee.
Brandon on the F&M Bing chat is going with Game 2 on Sunday, excuse me. He says, Dylan Dreiling's homer in Game 2 versus A&M. We were 7 outs away from elimination before that spark. And that is a great point. Tennessee down 1-0 at that point, 0 for 16 with runners on bases. They stranded all 3 with bases loaded twice in that game before Dylan Dreiling's clutch hit.
Yeah, I had the self-harm hotline on speed dial for the 6 of you that looked like you were living and dying on every pitch that way.
It felt like it was slowly starting to slip away before Dreiling stepped up and hit that homer to finally break through for the offense. So that's a great submission by Brandon from Game 2.
John is retired. He's up next.
Hey, this is not about what you're talking about now. It's just I'm a biggest fan of Lucas and overthrow Buck, but he's going to change something. If you're going to do your baseball, buddy, do it correctly. It's not 5.1 innings. That would mean he would have 10 batters in an inning. He doesn't. It's 5 1/3, my man. Hey, I'm still rooting for you to overthrow Buck.
You're gonna have to work a little hard. Every mistake that he makes, John, I just keep a little notebook and I bring it to our bosses and say, "See, he can't have my spot yet."
John is right. That's just how that's the AP style.
That's how they wrote it.
Because
I almost made that mistake earlier and I said, "Yeah, about 5 innings."
Yeah,
just tried to gloss over it. A good correction.
It is correct
by John. So, of all the different moments that you have, you understand that this is that it raises your level of expectation. So Peyton Manning was obviously in attendance at this game last night. And Jackson, he was made available in some form or fashion to the television broadcast. I know some local media got the opportunity to catch up with him on the field.
Yeah, this was his chat with Channel 10, WBIR in Knoxville.
So from courtesy of WBIR in Knoxville, Peyton Manning on not just the national championship in baseball, but the general state of Tennessee athletics.
Keeping the guys that were here, enabling them, empowering them, and obviously hiring some great guys. And to sit up there with Rick Barnes and Josh Heupel tonight and watch this, I'm telling you, this is not the last, right? Tennessee's coming in all sports. And it's a special night, but this is the first of several to come. I really believe that.
So, the first of several to come. I really believe that. And he's not talking about just baseball there. He says, all sports. He mentioned Heupel, who he was sitting with. He was sitting with Rick Barnes. He was sitting with Morgan Wallen. He was sitting with Josh Heupel as well. I think I said Heupel twice. But either way, there was a bunch of different Tennessee people over in that area. And I think for Vols fans, we did the exercise of which Tennessee team is next. It's probably still the baseball team if you look by percentage. Having accomplished this, the momentum that it will build, you saw the announcements, I'm sure, about how they're upgrading Lindsey Nelson, all the money that's being poured into that. Of course, we talk about name, image, and likeness, and how well Tennessee has mobilized that on the front of all sports, not just baseball, basketball, football, what have you. Is Peyton right? It's hard. It would be near impossible to present an argument downplaying the trajectory that Tennessee sports are on, University of Tennessee sports, because he's talking about the general health of the athletic program or the athletic department and saying, yeah, I don't think this is just baseball. I truly believe that we've got a lot of good things going here. And I think that the conversation we had around Danny White earlier, that only reinforces where they're heading.
I mean, just think about this year alone. Tennessee basketball comes off arguably its best season in program history. They matched the best run in program history to the Elite Eight, won an SEC regular season title in the process, and had one of, if not the best individual seasons by a player ever with Dalton Knecht, who's about to get drafted tomorrow. Then followed up with Tennessee baseball having inarguably its best season in program history. And it's like, all right, Nico, what you got?
All right, big guy. Yeah. This just cranks up the intensity and it cranks up the intensity on everybody. Now everybody is trying to achieve what Tony Vitello and the Base Vols just did, which is win a title for a fan base and a university that is just so thirsty for them.
Teresa Walker's in the building.
Uh-oh. She's probably coming in here to scold me about something, but she will give us everything we need to know about the state of the Tennessee Athletic Department coming up next. Teresa Walker is here, and we are immediately a more professional radio broadcast. As a result, you can read her work, of course, for the Associated Press. She covers the entirety of the state of Tennessee, which, of course, includes the University of Tennessee. Teresa, always a pleasure to see you.
It is particularly nice to be here today. I had to watch and communicate with a lot of friends, family, watch my son, a UT alum, survive that last inning. And it's like, calm down, people. And yes, I told more than one person to stop it with the BVS, the Battered Vol Syndrome. Winning national titles is not easy. It's a reason why they only give out one in each sport.
Nobody has BVS today. Nobody. Surely not. Have you encountered BVS today?
No. Are you kidding? Now it's like, bar the door, Katie. Everybody. Who's next? Who's going to be the next team? I've literally had people asking me today, who's the next team to win a national title? And I'll say this, it's going to be, Heupel's got the first chance up because why? College football expanded the playoff this year. He's got Nico. I forget it. I'm not saying his last name. Thank you.
You got a couple months.
We'll get there.
I'm just going to call him Nico.
All you got to do is write it anyway, right?
Exactly. As long as I can spell it right, that's all that matters. But
Ava.
There you go. He's got next, and then Rick Barnes. I mean, he's come as close. Karen Weekly and Jewel Spear. The Lady Vols. Yes, they've got a new basketball women's coach in Kim Caldwell, but she's done quietly a interesting reload of the roster through the portal, the changes on the staff, and she walked through the door knowing exactly what the expectations are. And Jewel Spear said, "We next." So it's like every Tennessee athlete is like running for the door to try to see who can break through the wall and get the next title.
Well, the implications of championships at the University of Tennessee. The way we had this discussion kind of to an extent yesterday, Teresa, and I asked Lucas, how long can like the football program go, for example, without winning a title and still maintaining its level of, Tennessee football as a brand matters more than anything ever when I'm talking about my basketball program and the way that Indiana is supposed to be a blue blood. And I'm looking at a half-empty stadium at Assembly Hall this past basketball season and a Big Ten regular season game against Wisconsin. And I'm made sad by it. I think that there's a generational, I don't want to say disconnect, but that it hits home so much harder when people, your son's age, your son is 25?
25, yes.
Lucas, how old are you?
28.
It's important to turn your microphone on during a radio broadcast. Jackson?
24.
So there's such a cross section of Vols fans who understand the history, who understand the importance across all the sports, not just football, but football first and foremost, versus a generation who's only been either, alive but not totally cognizant during these championships, or just doesn't have a total appreciation of how deep-seated this emotion runs through a fan base.
Oh, totally. I was literally pregnant with my son when Tennessee beat Florida State in the inaugural BCS championship for that last football title. And, Tennessee was absolutely teetering on the edge. It just goes to show how important leadership is at a university. Donde Plowman, January 2021, to me, that's the turning point. She fired Jeremy Pruitt, 9 others, pushed Fulmer out the door, went out and got Danny White. Danny White went out real quickly and brought Josh Heupel with him. And people are like, well, it's a package deal. How's this going to work out? And I still caution, he's still rebuilding from the scholarship reductions that they took, right? And now the landscape of college athletics is changing under our feet as we speak with NIL and the realignment. I mean, my God, Texas has been counting down till Monday for a month now. They can't wait to get in the SEC.
Really?
And so things are changing as we speak. So I think that he has a clock, but it just goes to show what good leadership, making the right decisions can do, because the previous decade, painful. I mean, after Pat Summitt won her last title in 2008, I'm sorry, the women who won the 2009 track championship, I'm sorry, I didn't notice it. I don't think a lot of Tennessee people did either, because
she's so much less gentle than I was with it.
Well, it's the truth. I mean, it's like, that's it? That they won then?
Sure.
I'm sorry, wasn't paying attention. And I do go to the Olympics and I help cover, some athletics. But it didn't make a mark. It's the big sports. And I know there's a lot of Vanderbilt fans now saying, oh, now you're paying attention to baseball. And I'm going to say this real quick. Vandy, if not for 2020 and COVID, I think that Tim Corbin and his program has 3 national titles and a runner-up. And if not for the horrible, terrible, sad accident with Donnie Everett, maybe there's a 4th one over there. So it's like they have been the program of the last decade. But they had to go through pain to get to their point as well. 2007, David Price against Michigan, things like that. So Tennessee went through that. They went through that with the baseball. They've done that in football. They've certainly done it in men's basketball, women's basketball. Let's see where they go from here. It's going to be interesting. The support has always been there. It's now been unleashed.
At Teresa M. Walker is where you can follow Teresa Walker of the Associated Press. She's hanging out in studio with us.
So last night was win number 60 for Tennessee, most ever by an SEC program. Of course, previously was 59 by Vanderbilt in 2019. You cover both programs, 2019 Vanderbilt, 2024 Tennessee. What was the better championship team?
I love to see them play on the field because Vandy had some incredible pitching that year, and Tennessee this year has, think about it. They should have the baseball home run record, but they don't because they got run ruled out of 2.5 games, the equivalent of 2.5 games. Otherwise, they've got that record. So I'm gonna lean to Tennessee, if maybe because of recency bias, but I do lean to the fact that I still think that 2020 Vandy team was headed toward Omaha and another title, if not for the pandemic.
But the next few years feel pretty pivotal for this Vanderbilt program, right? In terms of how Tim Corbin runs things. And now, because I said until yesterday, I didn't think you could consider Tennessee a baseball powerhouse until they get that title. Now they have it, and it's right down the road. So what do the next 2 to 3 years need to look like for Tim Corbin and Vanderbilt?
Well, we've seen all sorts of staff changes. I mean, there's been portal additions. I mean, he's not sitting over there on West End, okay? Tim Corbin knows what it takes to have a winning program. So, and they're doing the construction around the program. I mean, the problem is they're so landlocked over there between Memorial, even with the additions on that near McGugin. You compare that to what Tennessee's building a baseball palace. I mean,
the front office sports renderings that they put out are crazy of Lindsey Nelson.
And they're a little off because I think they had like the max of 7,000 plus. I think they're going to be able to fit, from what I remember of Tennessee releases, around 8,500 is going to be the max over there. So, Mississippi State kind of set that baseball palace standard in the SEC. Hello, Tennessee, when they start spending money, they know how to do facilities.
APnews.com is where you can read everything that Teresa Walker writes. It's not just Vols related, Titans, Predators, Grizzlies, what have you. Teresa Walker covers the entire state of Tennessee for the Associated Press. So now to your point about being closest to the next championship at Tennessee and making the case for the football program because of the expanded 12-team playoff, Teresa, I would probably say baseball still has the best opportunity to win another title before football gets there. I'm waiting for the Nico thing before I lean in on the baseball program because I'm optimistic. I think there's plenty of reason to be optimistic. The sample size, the small sample size that we saw of him last year, promising for sure. But degree of difficulty, baseball's probably got I don't want to say the easiest road because they've already done it or having just done it. Football, I would make the case, though, over, for example, Rick Barnes. Lucas and I were having this conversation because he's going to be 70 years old next month. They have in college basketball, men's and women's, the field is so hard to get through where the upsets are prevalent in a single elimination tournament. And with the Lady Vols being kind of at the basement of the major sports at Tennessee right now, looking to work their way back. Obviously, the athletic department has many more programs than that, but still, that's kind of the way that I would stack them from first to, I don't want to say first to worst, but first to furthest from winning a title. Baseball, football, men's basketball, Lady Vols.
Completely agree for the fact that the baseball program has been the best in the country since 2011. Sorry, I'm dyslexic and have not had enough caffeine. 2021, they have got the most
Only
wins.
a decade difference. It's fine, too.
I know. In numbers. I'm just a journalist, doggone it.
Things were rough in 2011, too.
I didn't have to take math when I got my degree at college. And they changed that before I graduated. I'll just say. But that's the thing. They have been the best. And Tony Vitello, he made it clear, what was it, the first weekend, the regional or whatever? If you're looking for NIL money, don't make that your first priority. You're coming here to fit into this program. So he kind of set that standard. And yes, the age thing with Rick Barnes is absolutely a question. Although looking at him last night and him watching Tennessee lift that trophy, something he's never done, and looking at the way he reloaded that roster. I mean, Dalton Connect. I'm helping with our NBA draft coverage the next 2 days, and Dalton Connect played his way coming to Tennessee into a lottery player, okay? I mean, most mock drafts have him going to the Grizzlies at 9. I think the Grizzlies are going to try.
Please, God, make it happen.
No, I think they're going to trade up for a big man if they don't find, they've got to get a big man. It's just that simple. But that said, he saw that. I think he is thirstier than ever. And with the people he brought in and just the Connect track record. I mean, the thing I saw the last couple of days on Chaz Lanier, the guy coming in that I'd never heard of before, managing to do the KD, Kevin Durant test, and only one that's done it, and he did it on his second try.
That's crazy.
That's a good sign.
Let's hear from Rick Barnes, because he was among the people that were in Omaha with the University of Tennessee celebrating a national championship. And Rick Barnes was asked about the idea of the men's basketball program having the shot at the next title.
Here with head coach of the men's basketball team, Rick Barnes. Barnes, I saw you with a nice little hug with Tony Vitello after the game. What was that moment like?
Well, it's special because you don't get to do this very often. And for him to be at the top of the mountain right now and for what he's done in his time on Rocky Top and get it done here. And he's been knocking on the door. And not only excited for him, but our university, but also his players.
Success has been something that's just coming and coming and coming for Tennessee athletics. You guys had a great season. Now Tennessee baseball, the softball team, women's tennis, you can name it. I mean, we could go down the list. To see that much success for this school, how cool is that to see?
Well, it's great, and we'll all tell you it starts at the top, with Randy Boyd and Donnie Plowman and Danny White and what they've done and how they've provided what we need to compete at the highest level. But we all know you can't get it done without the players, and for him to get it done tonight with his players and his staff, it's really a special national championship, not only for them, but for the University of Tennessee.
Questions going to be coming to your way, Rick Barnes. When's the championship coming for you all?
Well, we want it right now. I can tell you we want it right now, and I can tell you we're going to try to go after it.
All right.
So that's Rick Barnes with WBIR celebrating the Vols baseball national championship last night.
That's the thing. That sounded to me like I want to lift that trophy myself. He has come, for 70 next year or next month.
Yep.
And it's like, that's the thing. I heard fire. He talked about that last inning. I'd rather be down there coaching. So the fire still sounds to be there. And, I've got an 87-year-old mother-in-law who's going to compete to qualify for nationals in tennis as we speak.
Oh.
So it's like, age isn't what it used to be. And as long as the fire is, quote, there in the belly, and that's what I heard from Rick Barnes, is he sees everything. He sees how close he is. Now, does he get it? Let's stay tuned. That's why they play sports. And that's why we all tune in.
It's just the degree of difficulty for him is the most difficult of any of them, the way that I see it. But I feel like of the coaches that they have, and this is not any kind of knock against Tony Vitello or anything like that, but like of the coaches that the University of Tennessee has, I feel the best about Rick Barnes and overseeing his program and the experience that he has married with the skill that he has and the coaching aptitude. All of it, like he is the most complete coach of any of them in his sport. I just think his sport is the hardest to win the championship in.
And the commissioner of the SEC is the guy who's trying to expand it and add even more teams to the NCAA tournament field. And it's like, what are we even thinking here? So, yeah, like it couldn't be tougher enough. That's the one thing. Point out here, baseball team, are national champs. Why? Because they got second chances. Double elimination in the SEC tournament, double elimination in the NCAA tournament, even in Omaha. And they went 7-0 in elimination games this season. And, oh, by the way, 23 runs out of 40 scored with 2 outs. So clutch and getting second chances. And that's the problem with football, basketball. You don't get another chance when you've had a loss. It's gone. Bye-bye. Go home.
This is the state of Tennessee, and I took this from Rexroad's column this morning. It's the state of Tennessee's first major championship in 5 years since Vanderbilt did it. The idea that, whether it's college sports, pro sports, I know Lucas has a Preds question for you at some point. We're getting ready to cover, you and I are getting ready to cover another Titan season that has some intriguing components to it. But covering this state across the board the way that you do, how would you describe generally the state of sports fandom in Tennessee? Pro, college, all of it.
Thirsty. I mean, the AFC Championship game that the Titans lost in Kansas City has them wanting more, and especially with the way the pain of the last 2 seasons. They want to see where that goes. Memphis Grizzlies, oh my God, they go from being the number 2 seed in the West 2 straight seasons to missing the playoffs, and ESPN's next projections has got them maybe squeaking into the play-in tournament, and I'm like, did you realize they were hurt all last year? I mean, they have got maybe an advantage because they're so young and they're all now healthy. I mean, John Morant said over the weekend that he's going to be cleared within 2 weeks from shoulder surgery. All these guys are coming back. They just need to add a big man, and all the old guys are going to Paris. I mean, I'm sorry, but Steph, LeBron, you name it. This is an old, aging U.S. Olympic team, and if the guys that are coming back to play this next season don't get much rest, so the Grizzlies are going to be rested, etc. And then for Tennessee football, I mean, they may be the thirstiest of all, because there's still people angry that John Curry didn't fire Butch Jones the morning after the loss to Georgia. So, memories are deep over there, and the season ticket sales, they are waiting for that program to burst out. But, that's the thing. Predators, excuse me, but yeah, watching the Panthers lift the cup last night makes them only, they remember 2017. And I can only imagine there are Pred fans looking at social today, seeing people pouring beer out of the cup at the bar down there in Florida and thinking that could be us on Lower Broad.
Well, because there's only one bar in Sunrise, Florida, as far as I know. It's called the Quarter Deck or something like that.
No, this is the Elbow Room.
Oh, I know the Elbow
beach.
Room. Okay, on South Beach. That's not near where the Panthers play.
Why would you be celebrating near where they play? No, you go to South Beach, baby.
Nothing in Sunrise. Well, it is interesting because the talk around the NHL throughout the course of the playoffs and with the Preds and the UC Soros situation, a lot of talk about the value of a goaltender in today's game in the NHL. And we watched the Oilers score their way to the final and then nearly complete a historic comeback down 3-0 in the series. But in the end, elite goaltending and defense allows the Panthers to kind of control Game 3 towards the end, win 2-1. They win the Stanley Cup. What can the Preds learn from how the Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup?
Well, I'm still torn on that because great goaltending still matters. But, and Barry Trotz, I expect him to be very, we're already seeing NHL trades happening, right? Forget the fact that they were about to drop the puck for Game 7. There was a trade last night before that. So I think he's going to be very active again because he wants to win now. He won a cup in Washington as a coach. I think he wants to win one as a GM. I expect moves. But this team needs some more help on defense. Roman Josi needs help on defense. I'm still not. I've heard what he said. Barry has said about UC Soros and having earned maybe a no trade clause. I've heard all that stuff, but I also know that there is a 6'3" Russian goalie in Milwaukee who feels much more of the net than UC does, and Mitch Korn is back with the Nashville Predators to help develop goalies, and they need scoring. So, I can see him making a move for a defenseman, adding a secondary scorer, because you know why the Oilers lost last night? Connor freaking McDavid did not find the net, did he?
Yeah.
2 shots on goal, no points.
you have to have somebody else who can score. And sorry, Draisaitl didn't come through, and McDavid was shut down. And that's what we saw in the playoffs with the Predators. They shut down Philip Forsberg essentially, and the Predators could not win its series that was decided by a total of 1 goal.
She is Queen Teresa Walker of the Associated Press. APnews.com is where you can read her. Make sure you follow her on Twitter at Teresa M. Walker. She is always good enough to grace us with her time and make us smarter. T, thank you so much for coming in. So wait, do you declare you are the only one with royal authority around here? We'll do a little Game of Thrones. Queen Teresa, first of her name, president of the PFWA and leader of all things Titans media. Do you declare BVS, Battered Vol Syndrome, cured?
No. Because the instant football season starts, the instant basketball season starts, there are Lady Vol fans. That clock is already ticking on Kim Caldwell.
Oh, my God.
So, no. It never goes away.
It's in remission, is how somebody described it earlier?
Remission, and then the flare-ups will come the moment we kick off in Charlotte week 2 against NC State.
Okay.
Amen.
Very good. Teresa, thank you for stopping by.
My pleasure, guys.
We will wrap this thing up with some polls. Last call for phone calls. 615-737-1045 is how you do it. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Last segment for us, 615-737-1045 is how you join the conversation. Many thanks to Teresa Walker for gracing us with her presence. She is off to Paris here in the next couple of weeks to cover the Olympics.
Queen T.
Always on the move, always over-caffeinated, always doing something, and covering women's basketball in the Parisian Olympics coming up here in just a few short weeks. It will be great. Are you a big Olympics person, the two of you?
I was about to ask you if you get into it. I get in a couple of certain events. Like, are you winter or summer?
Oh, I think I'm a Winter Olympics person. I love the skiing. I love the hockey. I love the Winter Olympics. Just generally, I feel like I get into more, but I'll be honest, when they come around, I'm usually distracted anyway because it's in the middle of the football season. I watch more Summer Olympics. I think I like the Winter Olympic sports more.
I think I am more of a summer guy. I think it's easier to get really hyped up for swimming and track and the basketball, and I love the soccer. So I think I'm a summer guy.
And there's nothing else other than baseball going on in the sports calendar to really, distract from the attention that the Summer Olympics should command. So look forward to reading Teresa's coverage from Paris. Like I said, last call for phone calls. If you got them, 615-737-1045. Giles is saying that Memphis signed a 4-star quarterback. Is that correct? The Memphis Tigers signed a 4-star quarterback? I didn't see that in the news cycle here recently.
Saw some scuttlebutt about that, but I'd be lying if I said I am keeping up to date with Memphis football recruiting.
Okay. Are you two prepared for how insufferable I'm going to be with all the name dropping when I come back from Beer Olympics tomorrow?
Prepared to tune it out.
Oh, is it just fine for even mentioning the event?
Yes.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That's shameful. I'm already up to like $20 today. I haven't even gone yet.
You're shameful.
No, I'm shameless. That's the point.
Very half-hearted
such
laugh.
a pity laugh. It wasn't that bad of a joke. You might as well just not laugh if you're going to give me that crappy of a pity laugh.
Well, it was going to be more embarrassing for you if I did the pity laugh.
Fair enough. So Preston Penn on the YouTube chat says that he can confirm it's the highest recruit that Memphis football has had in quite some time. So that is good news for the Memphis football program. Not much else going on in local sports. Are we going to pivot to an MLB show? Are the two of you, well, Jackson's a baseball fan. Are we now a baseball show? We just covered an entire College World Series. We did it pretty well, all things considered, for a show that does not give a damn about baseball.
Low standards, but yes.
Generally, but it's so weird though how I'm genuinely a college baseball fan, and I just could not care about the MLB.
Should we pick a baseball team and do like a weekly update?
No.
Instead, if we were going to be, I don't want to do that. If we're going to pick a team, it would be the Braves, right?
We go Brewers. That's the Sounds affiliate.
It's true.
Oh, if we wanted to just go completely counterculture? No, I don't think we're going to do that.
Antoine Hill Jr., by the way, is the quarterback that committed to Memphis. That is a big get out of Georgia.
There are people in the comments who are as jarred by my lack of facial hair today as you were when I walked. I don't think I've ever seen you that surprised by anything. You're clean shaven every day. Is it that jarring?
It looked like you walked in. It looked like you were like sunburned, like you had a chemical peel done. Your facial hair is gone, and you got a couple extra doses of Botox. I didn't know who I was looking at when you walked in.
No Botox yesterday. Just a lot of laser work, baby. Poles.
Yeah.
The polls are presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. What in sports made you say, oh no, this weekend? Goody says when A&M scored the 5th run, thought for sure the guy coming up was going to hit a home run to tie it. Karen says when A&M scored in the top of the ninth last night. Taylor says Connor McDavid winning the Conn Smythe after not getting a point in Game 7, failing to win his first cup, and then trying to award it live on the ice while Florida celebrates.
I mean, I know that you have to do certain things for television, like they're built into the broadcast or whatever, but there has to be a less cringy way to give him his MVP trophy and not make him do it in front of a celebratory away crowd. That is an oh-no candidate for the year. Truly, winning the MVP, because it's the playoff MVP, right? It's not just the Stanley Cup final MVP.
Well, yeah, it's all of playoffs.
Yeah.
And he was incredible.
He was excellent.
Throughout the entirety.
Truly excellent, but damn, that's tough.
What was the most memorable moment of this Tennessee baseball season? Karen is back in the replies. She says the Florida State game when Dreiling walked it off. Eric says the FSU walk-off. Everybody looking back at that FSU game.
Yeah, to me, it's the Hunter Hensley moment. It's, I mean, he had several, of course, but the moment yesterday, the Matrix move, the scoring run, all of it en route to Tennessee winning the College World Series. There is no greater moment than that moment.
Who was the MVP of Tennessee's baseball season? Grit Knox on Twitter says, the friends we made along the way.
I do love Grit.
Mike, Gator Mike, it should be noted, says the third base ump in the Florida State game. Dylan says Xander Sechrist. He was set to be a midweek starter until A.J. Russell's injury, played his heart out all year. Certainly came up in some massive moments. Ryan says for the season, got to be Christian Moore. For the postseason, Dylan Dreiling. Think I agree with Ryan, although Xander Sechrist, this does not happen without him.
The Xander Sechrist thing, though, the thing with the hat, I don't understand it. Just get a hat that fits the whole situation.
Yeah, it kept coming.
The fiddling,
tighten it up. Come on.
I don't understand. I know there was some talk on the broadcast about it. The Vitello told him, he's just eccentric. He likes to mess with his hat. It made me insane watching it. Dylan Dreiling, though, of course, is the MVP. Like to have 2-run homers in the 7th inning of each of the College World Series games is crazy. Absolutely crazy.
All those guys, though, Christian Moore, Dreiling, Ensley, Sechrist, Kirby Connell, now program and athletic department legends after yesterday. Which Tennessee sports team is next to win a championship? Brian is going with football. Kevin is going with rowing or cross country. The Sauce on Twitter says softball. Karen says men's basketball.
I mean, baseball. Nobody seems to want to answer baseball on social media, but baseball is the correct answer. Baseball is the correct answer.
How did you celebrate Tennessee baseball's national title yesterday? Brian says screaming and jumping around with some tears with my 3-year-old asking me why I'm crying. Eric says jumping up and down, yelling in my living room. Steven says at work around Aggie fans here in Texas. Daytona Vice on Twitter says tears, cigar, and some bourbon. And by the way, shout out John Wilkerson, Tennessee play-by-play voice. You will not find a nicer person in this business, and that guy has called years and years of horrendous, painstaking, hair-pulling baseball. So congratulations to John Wilkerson. Those are the polls.
Absolutely. That's the show. Congratulations again to Tennessee fans. Enjoy the victory parade. Today, if you're in attendance, we got Rocky Top in the background to send us off. All right, that's fine. You get your moment in the sun. Enjoy it. No BVS for once in your lives. Today, Tennessee is national champions. Blaine Bishop is coming up next. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. I'll talk to you tonight at 7 p.m. on the Primetime Show.